Dana, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Stimulus Sundays. I so appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. This is great.
Awesome. Awesome. So I've known Dana for maybe about a year or so now. And her light, her spirit, her energy just is a magnet. You see her coming and you're like, I love it. And I, as getting to know her, she's amazing general counsel. She's also the COO of Nimbus, which is a marketing agency here in Louisville, Kentucky. And when I have any question about anything legal, which as a business owner, we're always like, is this okay? Is that all right? Is this legal to do? They said this. Should I be concerned? She's just amazing person to go to for those questions. And so I thank you I thank you for your knowledge. I thank you for your light. And I thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a nice intro.
Well, thank you. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah,
And so this is a bonus episode because I had to get Dana in on these episodes because I, like a lot of small business owners, are concerned as to what to do now that we are in this, new COVID culture. I've been saying it all day. Now I can't get it out. COVID culture.
Yeah.
It's different. Well, this is our new normal. And we have a lot of questions about the legal fallout of all of this. And as you all know, I operate in complete transparency and I have a lot of questions. This is my way of getting some free counsel from Dana.
Yep.
On what to do. So, but Dana, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Of course, I talk a lot about you, but I would love for you to tell us who you are, exactly what you do, and then we'll get into some questions.
Okay. As you've heard, I'm Dana Cosby, and I actually decided to be an attorney when I was 11 years old. I read To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh.
And I did not want to be any of the other characters, but Atticus Finch, I thought, now that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
He was, people come to him for the answers. He gets to kind of be thoughtful and think about, how do I help people? People come to me and they need guidance. And I thought that must be one of the most important jobs in the world. Like, I want to do that and I want to prepare for that. And so I went, my parents had their own business. So I come from a business, third generation business people.
Wow.
Because that's how my family survives. When there's a lack of opportunity, they create opportunity.
That's it. I love it.
So of course, I have come from a big family. As the doors opened, we now have lawyers and accountants, but a lot of times going into business, creating a small business was a necessity. It was a survival. As for basically for us to survive, we ventured into small business and entrepreneurship. So I come from a tradition of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously, understanding the role that attorneys play, my family very much encouraged me that, yes, we need those lawyers. Lawyers they are important and can be very significant for a business owner. Mm-hmm. I had not met a corporate attorney. I didn't know anyone. So I got my undergrad in accounting. I went to business school first because I thought that would help me be more useful to business owners if I could speak the language and understand from that standpoint. Yeah. Then I went straight to law school. So I went from undergrad, University of Kentucky, to Duke Law School, go two big blues.
Yeah, that is true.
Blue basketball schools, yes. And basically, that was 25 years ago. I graduated from law school. So I have been an attorney since then.
Yeah.
And I've done tax law. I actually did a public service. I went to my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. I went and I was a special assistant to the mayor. So I really learned government, which is the kind of law that we feel very much today.
Yes, we do.
This is an amazing situation because law is affecting us every day, every part of our lives. Mm-hmm. And we don't always see it. It's almost like air. Mm-hmm. It's there and you don't know. It's only when you lose it, when you don't have it, is when it becomes apparent.
Yeah, that you need it.
Right now, the way law and government has come in, it has and expected you more directly. Yeah. But it's always there. It's always a part of walking around, whether you put a seatbelt on, whether the water that you're drinking is clean. It's always there. Yeah. But specifically as it relates to your business, learning very early on what laws are going to affect you because it's different.
It
It's
is.
different for each business,
It is. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's there.
It
So
is
there's
there.
no getting away from it. That's what I love about it. That's what makes what I do important, because it
Yeah.
affects everybody.
It affects everybody in every aspect of it. Because even if you're just trying to get your articles or get, legally licensed in a city or state to operate, you know what I mean? Some individuals go through a lawyer to even just start a business. I love when people think,
Which is
uh,
good.
oh, of course, but I love when people think that I have a website, so I have a business. And I'm like, that does not a business make. And so,
Well, it's almost like it is. I always say having a website and products and customers without officially forming your company is the equivalent of being born without a birth certificate. It's not like you're not here, you're just not official.
I love it.
You don't legally exist, but we're not saying you don't exist. You
You're
just don't
here.
legally
You don't
exist.
legally exist. I love
Right.
that. I love that. Well, we're talking about how to best utilize our stimulus relief funds as business owners, as small business owners. And there's so many individuals that are out there that'll say, put 100% of your money into marketing. I mean, that's the most important thing, because who are you speaking to? And whoever your target market has completely changed after mid-March to today. You know what I mean? How you speak to them, how much they're willing to pay for it, how much their services cost, where you meet them. If you're a restaurant, you're not meeting them and sitting them at table 5, you know what I mean, and the corner booth to the
Right.
left. All of those nuances have completely changed. And so, of course, my perspective is completely different from yours, but I would love for you to talk about the legal aspects that are going into small business owners that have lost so much, where we have defaulted on contracts. Our vendors are behind on payments to our vendors. We have office spaces that we're leasing and that we're not operating out of today, but we're not able to afford the monthly rents and things like that on those locations. I started Stimulus Sundays as an opportunity to answer these questions on a larger scale, because when this first started, I started doing one-on-one consultations with individuals, and I found that first of all, I did them for free, which was what I wanted to do. It was just the kind of gal I am. But every single consultation ended in tears, and each of them were about 30 minutes, and about 15 minutes in, we were in full cry. And at the end of maybe 8 to 10 sometimes consultations in a day, I was completely spent. Needless to say, that
Yeah.
only lasted for 2 days. I could no longer hear another person with the exact same story. And so we started Stimulus Sundays to be able to answer some of those questions. But the questions that I heard the most were legal. What do I do? How do I get out of this? How do I get around it? I can't afford it. I don't know. I don't know if I can afford it, because I can afford it today. So this is a big question. I can afford it today. I don't know how long this is going to last and how long I can afford it. So I would like to just sit at your feet for the next 25 minutes and kind of unpack some of those things for small business owners, really just starting with the big question, like, what do I do, with these contracts that I have that I can't afford right now? What do you do?
So, what's interesting is, as I listen to you, now this is what I do.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, running into an issue with a client, not being able to pay bills are actually kind of normal. That's not
COVID
the new
culture.
normal for a small business owner.
It's
There
true.
are so many ways and difficulties that you can encounter. It's just
Hmm.
part of the journey.
Yeah.
And so this is a common scenario. And
Hmm.
what I would say, and it's probably a good, way to respond to these issues in your life, is to do something. So the first thing you do
Hmm.
is, and the best thing you can do is work it out. Now I
Yeah.
know that is what so even if you go to court, they're
Hmm.
going to ask you, can't you guys work it out?
Hmm.
So
You
if
gotta talk it
even
out.
when you sue someone or they sue you, they're still going to make you go sit in the corner and see if you can work it out.
Yeah.
So why not go ahead and try to start working it out?
Yeah.
Because you went in with the intentions, this was our agreement, but circumstances change, things can happen. So the best thing to do is to address it. I think what we know happens is people avoid, they put it off.
Yes, they
That tends to be the costliest thing you can do is
do.
to wait, because you
Hmm.
start losing some of the opportunities that you would have had. You make it a bigger issue. So
Hmm.
just think about, a lot of times, pick up the phone, contact them. These are human
Hmm.
beings. As much as we like to create these legal fictions called companies, there's
Yes,
actually a person
a person back there. Yeah.
who is trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Hmm.
You're trying to figure out what you're going to do. They're trying, especially if you can imagine, in light of people wanting to see if they have to call their landlords, call people to figure out, how can I get an extension? You
Hmm.
have the landlord sitting there thinking, how long can I go without getting paid?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have both sides, because everybody, this was the plan, is that everybody, this is not what we all intended. So the sooner you can start trying to work it out,
Hmm.
the better.
Hmm.
So that's always should be your first approach. It's actually, relationships really are what makes businesses really
Thrive.
do well,
Yeah.
is to have the right relationship, the pick up the
Hmm.
phone, let me tell you what's going on, the transparency, the trust.
Yeah.
Those are going to
Hmm.
be invaluable to you as you go through your business, is to establish relationships where you can just say, here's my situation,
Yeah.
here's what I've decided I can do, and I want, and I have every intention of trying to work this out. But just go ahead and start figuring out how to work it out,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's going to happen either way.
It's gonna
You
happen. You
can't.
might as well talk about it. You know what I mean? It's one of the, it's, you can't avoid it. And I have unfortunately been on the receiving end of individuals avoiding it. Like
Yeah,
I
that
had some of,
doesn't solve anything. I mean, you're kind of hoping. I don't know what you're hoping will happen, so it'll go away. But that's usually not how it
that's
works.
how
That's usually
it
not
works,
how it
guys. And it, you know, I talked about this before our episode started, is that, you know, unfortunately, and I've said this on all of our episodes, is that unfortunately we've had to put our staff is being furloughed because a lot of our contracts are on hold.
works. Mhm.
So, you know, we had some of our clients to step right in and say, you know what? I can't. I wish I could, or just for a little while, or give me 3 weeks. Well, that was, you know, that was now 4 weeks ago, but give me some time, you know, all of these things. Then you just had the ones that just stop calling, stop paying, you know what I mean? And there was that relationship there. Or so we thought, you know, on our end, but the avoidance doesn't change the fact that it's still a thing. You know what I mean? Just acting like it's not a thing is not, make it not be a thing.
And small business owners are very resourceful, and I think we've seen that in this crisis. As soon as they recognize the crisis, okay,
Hmm.
we're in crisis mode now,
Yeah, we are. Hmm.
because we always have contingencies. So just be, when you go into business, nothing goes perfectly, nothing goes the way it's planned. I don't care what contract you have.
No.
Rarely do they go smoothly. There's always contingencies.
Sure.
When you get to crisis mode, this is when we really see this was resiliency and the ability to get creative, and because it's required.
Yes, it is.
It's
Mm-hmm.
and meaning, and sometimes it's not as obvious, and that's the thing, the ability to see that there, something like COVID means affecting a lot. People are more open to
Yes,
things
it is.
they've never been open before.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
When you're in crisis mode, it actually makes people think, see the world differently, things they would have never let you consider.
Yeah. They're
You
willing
know,
to do so.
people, right?
Hmm.
They wouldn't let you work from home. They wouldn't let kids do distance learning. They wouldn't. But crisis mode changes all the rules,
Yes, it does.
and and so that's the moment in which you see things that I couldn't do before I can do now. So now what do I do?
What do
Now
I
that
do?
I'm able, but that's one of the things that small business owners, that's a trait. That's an entrepreneurial trait.
It is. Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I guess they say there's all these sayings about, what pressure does to you, and
Yeah. Makes
there's no
diamonds.
accomplishment without adversity. Like, right, this is when people are going to start shining. I know it's no fun, but we're going to start seeing that how they get out of this and how they work it out is going to be very useful for moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree.
That's the upside to all this downside.
It is. I love that because it is. It's watching companies pivot, watching opportunities that you've always wanted to take advantage of, but it wasn't billable. That's our experience. It's like we
Yeah.
had all of these great projects that we really wanted to work on, but it was not time would not allow us to do it because it wasn't a billable service. Now we don't got no billable services. We do whatever we want to do every day. And we're creating and we're innovating and we're changing the way that we look at things. And we're able to really dig into our analytics. And we're able to say this service was never actually purchased in the past 3 years. Why do we still offer it? I don't know, because it's just always been on our website. Let's update that.
Well,
You know
you
what I
can
mean?
have a reason to change,
Yeah, no
right?
reason. No reason.
No
Yeah,
pressure.
no reason.
So,
Yeah.
and I think so it's interesting because right now, as a lawyer, I deal with law all day, every day. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Right now, everybody's an expert on the law. Everybody's talking about it, right? So,
Good for me. I don't even try.
okay, like at least it's in the news. It's something that's being talked about. It's government's big.
Mm-hmm.
These types of situations tend to make these things rise to the top. And so what I suggest people do is maybe this is the time to think about how you do things legally,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to choose. Legal doesn't, I always say to people, I think it's important. I think we should talk about it all day. But
Yeah.
of course, as the COO of a company,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I do not spend all day on the law.
No.
I
Yeah.
don't, I may go days where I can't make a legal decision because there's operating decisions that are more pressing. But
Mm-hmm.
I have the luxury of knowing that I always am thinking when I make decisions. And so part of what I tell small business owners is you need to know what the three things are. You guys have to wear so many hats.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at it from a tax standpoint, what are the three things I need to remember? If I'm looking at it from a financial standpoint, what are the three? Because apparently people can remember three things.
They can remember
You can
three.
remember three things.
Right.
Right? That's what I've been told. That maybe we can remember more, but we all can remember three things. So
Top
when it
three.
comes to legal, you're
Yeah.
like, what am I doing? So what do I need to remember as the person in charge at my company who wears all this? I have to make lots of decisions. What's the legal thing?
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is what laws and regulations affect my business.
Okay.
Okay. When
Yeah.
you go into business, you need to know there's special laws that affect what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, in your field, you probably deal with a lot more copyright,
I was gonna say
trademark
copyright.
infringement
Yep.
issues than most people. Most people are like, what is a trademark?
Yeah.
What, right? But
Yeah.
that's something in the marketing field you have to think about all the time.
Yeah.
Intellectual property,
It's so funny.
brands.
As soon as you said that, that's the only thing that came to mind because I think you said it comes in threes. I may have other things I'm supposed to think of, but those are the only things I think of. Music, fonts, logos, colors, things that
Right.
are trademarked. We are always and forever researching them. We have a product that has a certain font on it and it's for personal use, not for professional use. Define professional
Yes.
use. Okay, so that's the world that we're
So
always.
that's the regulatory environment, the legal environment, your business,
Yeah.
and you guys will be experts on that area of law.
Mm-hmm.
That's the law that you deal with every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So other businesses, of course, have to deal with the FDA. They actually put things inside people's bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have to worry about those regulations.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people deal with things that could be caused like construction or events where you could have personal injury and people can get hurt.
Yeah.
So you got to think about what are the rules, like how many people am I allowed to have in this building, fire hazards, health. So there's a lot of regulations that affect your business. You need to know those things. You need to do your homework, understand those things. The second thing you need to, so once you know, okay, I'm in this field, I'm in this business, I know there's special rules that apply to me.
Right.
The second thing is secure the deal. Your job is to go out there and you negotiate, secure it. It's the worst thing in the world is to have this great negotiation and this deal, and then you don't secure it. You don't actually get paid the money you negotiated. You don't actually get the product that you actually asked for because you didn't secure it. And the best way to secure it is to put it in writing.
Put it in writing. Get that contract. Yeah.
So that's, you secure the deal. Okay. Then the third thing, and you can think about like secure the deal, and then the other thing is get secure it and then get it.
Then
Get paid, get, do the job, do whatever's required in that contract. Okay. Understand what you committed yourself to and make sure you comply with it.
That's really huge because, I feel like, again, a lot of things that individuals are dealing with right now is not being able to fulfill their contracts. Us on the other end are not able to fulfill our contracts because our company, our clients can't fulfill their part of the contract. You know what I mean? So they can't pay for it. So we don't have anything to do. You know what I mean? Because they are not providing a service. What should individuals or companies do in that situation? Should we then, I have a personal idea. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, but I have a personal idea of what I'm going to do whenever we get back to whatever this normal looks like with our contracts. But what is your advice to individuals for contracts that are currently standing and I'm not getting paid on them? So what do you do? What are my options?
So the first thing, you go back and look at the contract, because we learn. That's what lawyers do. Every contract you see, I bet the first contract ever written was like one paragraph.
Right.
And then something bad happened, and we're like, it'll never happen to me again. I'm adding that to my contract. And then that happened to me, and I'm adding. So that's why we have these long contracts. We learned the hard way. What we didn't have in that previous contract.
I put postage in my contracts. You're responsible for the postage. Okay? Let the one bad thing happen and you figure it out.
I will never pay for the postage again. Exactly. So a lot of times when you look at these things, because lawyers are pessimists, when we draft contracts, we think, what's the worst thing that could happen? And let's make sure we cover that in the agreement. That's why they get so long.
Yeah, that's
true. We're always thinking, okay, so what is the real deal? And are they paying me to be available, or are they paying me to do work? So the best contract you can get, especially with professional service, is you want retainers. You want to get paid to be available.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, so I will make myself available this month. And you want to have termination. You want to have termination where they got to give notice.
Right.
So they can't just say, I don't have the money, I can't pay you today, so you're done. They might have to give you 30 days. So you want to have a lot of things that require you to control how they get out of it.
Yeah.
And and the beauty of having notice is saying they're stuck with you for at least the 90 days before they can send you home.
Yeah.
And it requires the person on the other end going, if you have any reason to believe that you're not going to be able to pay this person, you need to give that notice as soon as possible. And so those are the kinds of things so you go back and look at your agreement. What does it say? Do they pay you? So if your deal is, here's our agreement, but I only pay you if you do work. So that means they have all the control. There's no minimum. So a lot of times in that situation, you might want to have some minimums. They have to at least pay a minimum each month, or they have to pay a retainer where they're paying it whether they use you or not. Because yes, you are more vulnerable when they control.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to make sure there's a balance there.
Right.
So moving forward, so whenever they have the control, they just, because if I represent my clients, I always write it in their favor.
Yeah.
And then it's their attorney's job to bring it back.
And say, no, because all of my contracts are written in my favor. We can exit in 30 days. You have to give a 90-day.
Exactly. And pay a penalty. What if they don't give the notice? Now they got to pay more. If you pay late, you charge interest.
Right.
There's all these things are not standard. They're just things that you can negotiate that actually get you a better deal. Some of which makes you more money, guarantees you more money, some of which protects you in these types of situations where the circumstances change. Yeah.
But so say for an instance, your client is a movie theater and you provide marketing services for a movie theater. This is real life scenarios, right? So what are you supposed to do about a contract that is now breached because they're not in business? You know what I mean? And they've not been able to operate as a business. This isn't covered in acts of God. This isn't covered in, what is the word?
Force majeure.
Yeah, there we go.
French words, right?
Majority or somebody. This isn't that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't. So what is it that you're to do with a client like that? You know what I mean? Do you just say, well, I know you weren't able to pay, but now it's affecting me, my brand, my reputation, my
But
opportunity.
what did you guys agree to? What's the rule say?
Yeah.
So
This is a scenario that's,
yeah,
that's,
like in just say in general,
yeah.
what would be normally the rules? So you have this agreement with this movie theater or restaurant that
Mhm.
says, I'm going to market. What's the rule? Do they get to cancel the contract as soon as they lose business?
Mhm.
Do they have to finish out? Like a lot of times with landlords, whether you lose your job or not, you still have to pay the rent.
Right. Right.
Okay. So do your contracts read that way, or are they able to can they give notice? Can
Hmm.
they, so what are the rules that you
What are the
agreed
rules?
in the agreement?
The rules don't apply. There none. I feel like there's so many individuals, even with my contracts, as much as my attorneys have tried to think of worst case scenario, you know what I mean? This isn't a scenario that anyone could ever conceptualize, that one day, on this day, we will close. On March 15th, we will cease to
Well,
exist.
other than a fire or a, right,
Yeah. Then
because
this
restaurants
isn't
burn down, movie theaters burn down, so
sure.
it's, so there can be a one location instead of the entire city having to shut down. Uh,
Yeah.
that's what force majeure. So what happens if acts of God? What if there's a tornado? What if
Right.
there's, so because they tend to not spread out the way COVID did. They tend
No,
to
be very
affect one
localized.
business.
and,
But I
and
think now,
it
but
doesn't
that's
affect
what
you
the
forever.
breach. But
Hmm.
that's what the breach is. That's, so what happens when they breach the agreement?
Yeah, that's where you get into these details. And it's so interesting because I feel like contracts are forever going to change now with this happening. You know what I mean? Because I remember I lived in Huntsville, Alabama for a long time and did business there for many years. And we would have tornadoes. This brings this up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My business is carried away. You know what I mean? I don't have this anymore. Well, your insurance is responsible for paying all of your contracts until X amount of date, and these things happen, and then we're responsible for helping you all get back and open, you know what I mean? The verbiage sounded much different after a major catastrophe than it did before, you know what I mean? Because we continue to have these situations and we evolve. But the difference to me is that I'm able to say, this is the amount of damage that is done. This is how long it's going to take for me to rebuild. And this is an estimated time in which I will be open. Dana, if you can tell me when we're going to be back open, pay $1 million today. That's, I mean, that's the big issue that we're all dealing with, is when is this over? You know what I mean? So yes, you've breached, but am I saying you have 30 days to get it together? Am I suing you? What am I supposed to do?
Well, I think I think what everybody, we're all kind of, hoping that it's a different approach right now. We know why people are now, meaning I'm not suggesting that some companies were not already in trouble, not already facing issues with their clients, but I think we say as a general rule, we know a number of businesses have been affected, their businesses negatively in so many ways.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's been we're, as a community, we're trying to decide, as government is trying to provide assistance as they would in any disaster,
Sure.
whether they're trying to help with the employees. I think there's a suspension going that's kind of given, that if you can wait.
Yeah.
As a business community, I think there is, if you can continue paying. I think, what's interesting is, as an attorney, I've worked with a lot of women, female attorneys who have children,
Mhm.
who have, childcare providers.
Yeah.
And when you think about the fact that, do you continue, so you have this social distancing, do you continue paying the daycare? These are small businesses.
Yeah.
And it was interesting seeing how many people are trying to decide. We know that these kids, they're hoping these kids are going to go back eventually. We
Yeah.
want that business to still be there. And
Mhm.
so do you continue barbershops? Do you keep paying?
Yeah.
Even though, because it's not their fault, and this is money you would have been normally. So I think a lot of times the question was if you're still getting paid. So
Yeah.
some of them came out differently.
Yeah.
Some of them said, as long as it didn't affect how much my income, then I continued paying the things I would normally pay for.
Yeah.
If there
Yeah.
was a reduction in my income, then I spread that reduction across the businesses that I was paying. So
Hmm.
I'm being fair. And so I agree. I think there's been different approaches, but
Yeah.
you're just working it out. You're just being honest, because I think people are trying. You always can go to court. You can always sue.
Yeah.
You don't have to even have a contract to sue.
Sue.
You can
Sure.
oral contracts. But I think we all agree that's not always the best answer either. How are you
Yeah.
going to sue someone who can't pay you? You can get you can win the lawsuit. They owe you, but now you got to collect on the judgment. If they don't have the money,
If they don't have the
you know.
money.
So I'm not, but I think you do need to preserve the situations in which you're going to want to preserve that right, because as things get better, you're going to want them to pay you that. So
Yeah.
that's why you work it out, because you give them more time, because you don't want to lose the ability to get paid. But suing them may not be the best. Suing is a great way to secure certain things, and you have to do it.
Right.
If you're not, the banks, if you're not paying your mortgage on time, they're going to start that process.
They are.
Now, there's ways in which you can give you time, but they need to preserve the right there's just a process, and they have to start it.
Yeah.
Okay. But sometimes you can put it off and just preserve it, so you have the right to collect when you actually think they actually have money, when there's actually ability to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta secure it. You gotta look out and make sure you don't lose the ability to sue.
Yeah, because it just having the ability to do so. Again, I said I have a big personal opinion on it. I I just don't. I hate this part of all of business, And after 15 years, you think I would be like, oh, it's just normal part of business. No, I hate it. I hate the part of you can't afford to pay, and I'm still trying to shake you down for money. I don't like it. You know what I mean? And I look at each of our clients. In a way of with compassion, you know what I mean? Because like you see, and to your point, there were some that were in trouble before this COVID
It's
happened,
the way
but
it
there
is.
were a number of them that were doing just fine. You know what I mean? And could they perhaps still pay? Maybe, but to their point, they were like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to still pay without actually making any income. So this brings into play, in my opinion, business, the health of a business, and we look at our personal finances and say, oh, we're one paycheck away from being homeless. Well, how long is a paycheck? How long do businesses have before they too are homeless? You know what I mean? So how much money are you spending versus how much you're bringing in, and how healthy is your business? I think this makes a lot of people really look at their finances in a different way, because with business, you always think there's always more. We had 7 individuals in our pipeline before this happened. Always more business. All 7 of them collapsed in the matter of like 48 hours. So is there always more business to be had? Should you always depend on business to be able to come in? Absolutely not. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? Now our eyes have been completely dilated, and we're like, I see that, just like my personal financial health, my business has to be healthy, and I can't pursue somebody that does not have the money to pay, or I can't do billable hours because you aren't billing me because you don't have a business. Your business is closed.
And if you think of, because as the owner,
Mm.
okay, because I'm the COO, and so I manage the business, but as from the owner,
Mm-hmm.
this is your investment. The company is your investment. And when you're looking at if you were looking at your portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look at investments, you're thinking, okay, I might have to move some things around. Some things you're going to wait it out to see how it goes. And some things you're like, you know what? It's just not going to come around.
Yeah.
And I've got to move those investments, because it's my job to make sure that money's being spent, or I'm, making the money that I'm supposed to be making. So there's different concepts. So like diversification. So you think, how do I look at risk? Because there's risk in everything,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
risk in walking out the door. There's risk. And I'm trying to figure out what risk I'm in right now, but there's some risk here. I can tell you there's some risk. Okay.
I'm risky, right?
Okay, if I think long enough, I can probably think of the risk of sitting in this chair. There's some kind of risk here. Maybe I should be standing. I don't know. Okay. But diversification. So I think a lot of companies know when you get to the point where you have one major client, you're almost putting yourself in that position. So having different clients in different industries, diversification can work in different ways.
Right, absolutely.
Because COVID is affecting businesses in different ways.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So when you have a lot of your clients are in the same industry, when they're in similar, they're all public. So you're doing restaurants and movie theaters and right. But then if you do home delivery and, movie delivery like Netflix, things that actually where social distancing actually is a good for their business. Having that kind of diversity. So that's the thing you need to look at. And it's hard. Lawyers are much better. It's like when things are good, that's when lawyers get worried.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when we start going, okay, this can't last.
Right.
And accountants are like that too, where things are going well, but we start getting worried when it gets well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we know it's not going to last. Nothing ever stays the same. And your fear is that you'll get comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
You'll stop pursuing new clients. You'll stop thinking about how much liquidity do I have? Do I have a line of credit? Do I have money in the bank? Because the money is flowing. And so I hate to tell people never get comfortable. Don't sleep. But the reality is in business, that's one of the ways you avoid risk. That's how you deal with the risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is you always think diversify, because that one client's great today.
Yeah. And if we had a crystal ball, we would never put all of our eggs in a basket. People feel like it's risky to do home delivery because there's so many home delivery, like food services, you know what I mean? There's so many of these things, but now it's all the rave, so there is no crystal ball. You just have to keep it as diverse as possible because when someone is winning, then they're all winning. We work for a swimsuit line. Well, summer's canceled. Okay. And so, you think, oh, wow, what a great industry to work in because it's seasonal. You really hit it hard. Your marketing is very poignant and focused. And you have this big strategy around all these things. And when summer gets canceled, but
so you
don't know.
It's one of those, the longer you are in business, the more of these types of things. So of course, the company that I work for now actually is almost 20 years old.
Yeah.
So they went through the recession. So some of these companies in 2008, they were hit where a lot of the companies that you're serving were hit by the recession.
Right.
So you survived that. And so there are a lot of companies, when you watch how quickly they moved during COVID, you're like, how did they know to do that? And they're like, hey, we barely made it out of the recession.
Right. I'm still licking my wounds from that. But it's so amazing though, Dana, because
so you're still lean, right?
Yeah, you are. Oh man, super lean. You learn those lessons and they never leave you. If you ever start stepping out of line, you look at that scar and be like, I don't want to do that anymore. And it is interesting because you may have just a moment of self-doubt and pity, and you may want to just sit on the couch and sulk. But those lessons make you stronger. Our failures and situations, setbacks happen for us. They don't happen to us. And so when you really consider how this is for our good and not something personally that happens to us, it helps you wake up in the morning. It just helps you to say, like, I have another chance at this and I'm going to make it better than before.
And some people thrive with the challenges. I mean, that, sometimes, because, when some people are like, this is a time to come up with your best ideas, to put, a lot of times adversity is what drives people to try new things, think outside the box, because you're no longer in the box.
You're no longer in the box.
And so I do think some people right now, they're in their mode. Yeah. It's like they're making masks and they're doing like, who knew?
Yeah.
Like, look at those people. They shifted their businesses and started restaurants, started offering eggs and bread and toilet paper. Right?
Yeah.
And so seeing that kind of agility, which is inspiring. Because despite what people think, do you know that this thing that's affected all of us, because we're not just concerned about business and because it affects the health
Wow.
people too. That's what makes this so serious.
Yeah.
But when you talk about disruption in
Mm-hmm.
business,
Mm-hmm.
when you think about how you have worked really hard to create something sustainable and profitable, and another young whippersnapper company comes in and changes the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, think about taxi service.
Yeah.
Think about, like, what was a Blockbuster?
No, I miss Blockbuster.
We think about who would have thought
Mm-hmm.
that you could alter that, something that strong,
Yeah.
something that well made. So just keep in mind, business, the environment of business it's all kinds of things externally that
Yeah.
are going to come at you,
Yeah.
and your ability to duck and
Dodge and duck,
move
whip and move.
and
You guys need
bounce back, get back up is actually a test of
yes.
your, that's how good your company is not the smoothness of the journey. It's that
Mhm.
how well you have come around those curves, gone over those mountains, gone through those valleys. That's when you know you've really got something. That's unfortunate. That's just how business
I
works.
love that. I love that. Dana, you dropped the mic just then. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I have
Oh yeah, this
enjoyed
is
talking
great.
to you. Like I said, personal friend, I mean, expert in every way. Dana,
Not every way.
well, you heard it here. Um,
Yeah.
but I would love to end this episode with ways that individuals can find you. Can we connect with you on LinkedIn? I know that you are a general counsel, for a company currently, but do you offer any of your services outside of this? I'm asking, I'm not putting you on the spot, but if individuals have questions outside of this, what do you do for that?
It's interesting. Because of the amount of experience I've been able to gain, I really enjoy this kind of, Dana, what do you think of this? Dana, what do you think of that? I actually am finding that really it's kind of rewarding for me
Mm-hmm.
it's exactly why I became a lawyer.
Right.
Because that way I can help people about things that they're serious and important about.
Mm-hmm.
So typically I do, Nimbus does take up quite a bit of my time,
Yeah, shout
but
out to
Nimbus actually is a company that's really focused on supporting other women, minority-owned businesses, small businesses. And so part of being at Nimbus actually gives me the ability, because it's part of our culture.
yeah.
And so we are actually in the process now. So what I would suggest is we are coming up with some programming, some supportive services at Nimbus
Yeah.
related to how we can share, because Nimbus has been very agile, very lean, has learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
And we want to actually support and be a part of a community. So if you want to reach out to me at Nimbus,
Yeah.
because I'm hoping that way we can tie you into any programming that we have available, or any programming like this, or anything else that I'm participating in. Because we're very interested. Now, well, of course, I say this, and if I get blasted with a lot of different emails,
Questions?
but I'm just telling you, we are very interested in it. We'll be having some program locally in Louisville. I'm not sure where everybody's watching this. That we'll be trying to do things with more companies, collaborating, sharing, and most importantly, sharing knowledge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is the
And
whole
I
point.
am on LinkedIn.
Good. I was going to say, where can we find you?
So people find me there too. So definitely LinkedIn. That's good to find Dana Cosby, Nimbus. So I think for some reason people find me. So I think that's also a good place if you want to reach out as well.
Fantastic. Dana, thank you so much for being here with us today. I so appreciate you. I appreciate your expertise and just your honesty. Like I said, this is a difficult time for everyone. Everyone is feeling it. We talked to a client in Mumbai, and to see them on a Zoom meeting with 5 of them sitting in their living rooms, it really is a numbing fact that
Real.
it's
Yeah.
not just here. It's not just Louisville. It's not just New York. It's not just the East Coast.
No.
Everybody, this whole world
Yes.
is dealing with
Yes.
the exact same thing. And so
We're in this together.
we're in this together. These questions aren't, even though we laugh and we joke, we do it because that's all we have. It's where we are. We're going to get through this together. If you have any questions, please reach out to either one of us, specifically Dana, about any of your contracting questions. She is actually a SME in this area, which is why I had her on this show. But I want to thank you guys for tuning into this bonus episode of Stimulus Sundays. As you know, every single Sunday at 6 p.m. You can find us live, and you can find all of our information at jointeffortllc.com. You find me on LinkedIn at Dion Stokes. On any social media platform, I'm there at Dion Stokes or at Joint Effort LLC. Thank you again, Dana, for being here with me today. I
Thank
so
you.
appreciate it. You guys have a great
Okay.
rest of the day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.